Picture this, it's evening, the lights are low, you're in a warm, quiet studio. Surrounded by others on colorful mats, soft, ambient music is playing. An instructor with a soothing voice guides you. Inhale, reach for the sky, exhale, fold forward, find your downward facing dog. You stretch, you sweat, you focus on your breath. For an hour, the stresses of the outside world melt away. You leave feeling centered, stronger, and more peaceful. It's your weekly yoga class, a billion-dollar global industry, a cornerstone of modern wellness, and for many, the ultimate form of self-care and physical exercise. But what if I told you that the activity you consider a workout is, at its core, one of the most profound spiritual practices ever conceived by humankind? What if the poses you hold have ancient meanings tied to gods and sages? The namaste you say at the end is a deep religious gesture, and the entire structure of your class is a modern echo of a sacred, holy ritual. Today, we are peeling back the layers of the yoga mat to explore a controversial question. Is your yoga class a religious ritual? We'll journey from the strip malls of California to the ancient banks of the Ganges to uncover the hidden Hindu origins of this global trend and confront the uncomfortable debate raging just beneath its surface. Let's start with what yoga is for most people in the West today. It's vinyasa flow at the local gym. It's hot yoga in a heated room. It's power yoga for a full body burn. It's Lululemon apparel, expensive mats, and Instagram influencers holding perfect handstands on a beach. The language is all about the physical and mental benefits. Increase your flexibility, build core strength, reduce anxiety, improve focus. It's presented as a science of the body, a secular practice open to anyone, regardless of their beliefs. You can be a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist, or a Jew and still do yoga. It's seen as a spiritual but not religious activity, a universal tool for well-being. And for millions, that's exactly what it is, and it brings immense value to their lives. But to understand our central question, we have to travel back in time, thousands of years, to a place where yoga looked nothing like what you see in a modern studio. The word yoga itself comes from the ancient Sanskrit language, from the root yuj, which means to yoke, to unite, or to bind. The question is, to unite with what? For the ancient sages of India, the answer was unequivocal. The goal of yoga was to unite the individual self, the Atman, with the ultimate reality, the divine consciousness of the universe, known as Brahman. This wasn't about getting a good stretch. This was the entire point of human existence. The foundational text of classical yoga, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, compiled around 400 CE, lays out a detailed 8-limbed path to achieve this union. And guess what? The physical postures, the asanas, are only one of those 8 limbs, and they were originally designed not as a workout, but to prepare the body to sit still for long periods of meditation. The other limbs are a comprehensive guide to a spiritual life. There are the yamas, ethical rules like non-violence, ahimsa, and truthfulness, satya. There are the niyamas, spiritual observances, like devotion to God, Ishvara, pranadhana. Then comes breath control, pranayama, withdrawal of the senses, pratyahara, and deep states of concentration and meditation that lead to the final goal, samadhi. Samadhi is a state of enlightenment, of spiritual absorption, of becoming one with the divine. This is the heart of yoga. It's a deeply theological, philosophical, and ritualistic practice embedded within the framework of Hinduism. In its original context, yoga without its spiritual goal is like a Christian communion wafer without the belief in Christ. It's just a cracker. So how did we get from this profound spiritual quest for enlightenment in ancient India to a $30 drop-in class in downtown Manhattan? The story of that transformation is the story of modern spirituality itself. For centuries, yoga was a closely guarded practice, passed down from a guru, a spiritual teacher, to a disciple. But in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a few key figures brought these ideas to the West. The first major introduction was Swami Vivekananda, a Hindu monk who captivated audiences at the 1893 Parliament of Religions in Chicago. He spoke of yoga not as physical exercise, but as a philosophy, a science of the mind. Then came others like Paramahansa Yogananda, whose 1946 book Autobiography of a Yogi became a sensation, influencing everyone from George Harrison to Steve Jobs. But even they taught a version of yoga that was deeply spiritual. The shift towards the physical began in the mid-20th century. As yoga became more popular in America, teachers and entrepreneurs began to realize something. The deep Hindu philosophy, the chanting in Sanskrit, the devotion to deities like Shiva and Ganesh, it was a tough sell for a mainstream American audience that was predominantly Christian or increasingly secular. So, they began to adapt. They started emphasizing the health and fitness benefits. They stripped away the overt religious elements. The chanting was replaced with calming music. The philosophical lectures were replaced with instructions on alignment. The goal of uniting with Brahman was replaced with the goal of touching your toes. It was a brilliant marketing move. It made yoga accessible, non-threatening, and highly commercial. It allowed yoga to explode into the global wellness phenomenon it is today. But in this process of translation, something was undeniably lost, or, depending on your perspective, something was stolen. This brings us to the heart of the modern debate: cultural appropriation. For many practicing Hindus and Indian Americans, seeing yoga reduced to a mere physical exercise is deeply painful. They see it as the secular West taking a sacred part of their heritage, stripping it of its meaning, and selling it back to them for a profit, often without ever acknowledging its roots. They ask, how can you say namaste at the end of class, a word that means the divine in me bows to the divine in you, and then claim the practice is not religious? How can you perform Surya Namaskar, the sun salutation, a literal sequence of devotional bowing to the Hindu sun god Surya, and call it just a warm-up? From this perspective, modern yoga is a textbook example of cultural appropriation, taking the most aesthetically pleasing or commercially viable parts of a culture while ignoring the people and the context that created them. On the other side of the debate are millions of yoga practitioners and teachers. Many would argue that their practice is one of deep respect and appreciation, not appropriation. They might say that yoga has evolved, as all practices do, that the physical and mental benefits are real and profound, and that these benefits should be available to everyone, regardless of their ability or desire to engage with its Hindu origins. They might argue their yoga class isn't a religious ritual, it's a personal ritual, a ritual of self-care, of checking in with their body, of finding a moment of peace in a chaotic world. So, who is right? Can we call a modern yoga class a ritual? Well, a ritual is a sequence of activities involving gestures, words, and objects performed in a sequestered place and performed according to a set sequence. Let's break that down. A yoga class is a sequence of activities. You start with centering. You move through warm-ups, a series of poses, and end with Savasana, the final resting pose. It involves gestures, the asanas themselves. It involves words, the instructor's guidance, and often Sanskrit terms like Om or Namaste. It's performed in a sequestered place, the quiet, dedicated space of the studio, and it's performed according to a set sequence. By this definition, a yoga class absolutely has the structure of a ritual. The question is whether it's a religious one, and the answer is, it's complicated. What's clear is that modern yoga exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have classes that are purely fitness-focused, set to pop music, with no mention of spirituality. On the other end, you have classes that fully embrace the Hindu tradition, with chanting, meditation, and philosophical teachings. Most classes in America fall somewhere in the murky middle. They use the Sanskrit names for poses. They end with a gesture of reverence. They cultivate an atmosphere that feels distinctly more sacred than a spin class or a weightlifting session. They have become a kind of quasi-religious space for people who are spiritual, but not religious. They are rituals that borrow the sacred grammar of Hinduism, even if they don't preach its specific theology. So is your yoga class a religious ritual? It may not be for you, but by participating in it, you are stepping into the stream of a practice that is, in its soul and its origin, undeniably religious. You are performing the modern, heavily edited echo of an ancient, sacred rite. The purpose of this video isn't to tell you to stop doing yoga. It's to invite you to go deeper, to be curious about the history behind the movements, To understand that the peace you feel in Savasana is connected to a spiritual tradition that has been seeking that same peace for millennia. The poses are more than just shapes. They are part of a profound philosophical system for understanding the universe and our place within it. And acknowledging that doesn't diminish the workout, it enriches it. So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know the deeper history, does it change how you view your own practice? And what is the responsibility of a practitioner or a teacher to honor the roots of this ancient tradition? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. This is a conversation worth having. And if this exploration made you think, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the hidden histories of our modern world. Thank you for watching.